Welcome to the Black Paper. My name is Ndukwe Onoha.
And I'm Cheta Wanze.
Cheta, it's been an interesting week that I've had, and I'm sure you've had as well. Chief of which is refusing to go see reform in your end of the woods, or your neck of the woods.
I don't know why you had to go and bring that up, but okay, since you brought it up, about 10 days ago, in the post letter box, we saw an invitation from Reform UK to a rally, and I've shredded it, but I scanned it and sent to Unzukwe. So let me see if I can peel it up. Yeah, it's there. So I was actually going to go. It was addressed to me and my wife, and it goes, "Dear Ololade and Shetachuku," and it's very interesting. I wonder if the guys who wrote it could pronounce our names. Anyway, dear Ololade and Shetachuku, on 7 May there will be local elections in your area, and Britain is at a turning point. I would like to personally invite you to join me and your local Reform UK Council candidates at a special public meeting in Milton Keynes on 17 March. This event will launch our campaign to win those elections and start fixing your council. It's your chance to hear about the real change Reform UK is already delivering across Britain. Book your tickets today. And that's where the whole thing begins to fall apart for me.
They told the Nigerian man to book his tickets
to a political rally. Like, as in, like, I don't understand. How do you, as in, so anyway, overleaf. The bottom line is that there are tiers of tickets. So it's you had the £10 tickets, you had the £15 tickets, and I'm like, hang on, do you mean you want me to pay 20,000 naira or 30,000 naira for a political to come to attend a political rally? Where
I'm
it
sure
is done properly, you pay me to come. What nonsense is this?
Now, I'm sure that thing fried your brain, your Nigerian brain. You're like, no, this something is wrong here.
Well, I actually had to start asking around, and people don't pay to go to political rallies here. It's supposed to be an open to the public event,
Everybody
which brings
knows
us to the grifts. Basically, so I mean, for those of our listeners who may not know, Nigel Farage's party is actually a PLC. It's a registered business.
Is it PLC or limited? It's limited.
PLC limited, public limited company now. Okay, no, it's not a public limited company.
It's not PLC,
it's an LLC. It's an LLC. Yeah. Sorry for that mix-up.
LTD.
Limited liability company.
You're thinking US. See, you've gone to the US too much.
Now you know. But the bottom line is, it's a registered business. It's not a political party, and he's the majority shareholder. If not, he's not the sole shareholder anymore, I think, but he's still the majority shareholder. So the bottom line is that the man is there to make money, and this whole business of inviting. So in the UK, the electoral register, those who are registered to vote, it's very clear. It's something that you can easily access if you because under freedom of information. So my suspicion is that what they did was that they accessed the electoral rolls and then went for homeowners. So because if you read the whole thing, the whole letter to the end, it was clear that it was targeted at homeowners who are worried about the quote and unquote, the thing that they've claimed exists, that people's homes are being taken away from them and given to immigrants. So that was clearly the target. So a part of me, I really would have liked to go, but when I saw those gate fees, I was like, no, I'm not going to dash that man money. But I would have liked to see, because I like to think of Milton Keynes, where my family lives, as a pretty diverse city, that is full of open-minded and educated people. But this they know they no
Just
finish.
just
So
just the sort of people that reform doesn't want. But it's quite
exactly.
interesting. So two things. One, I saw a post today that said if or give the free post address for reform. So if you get a reform poster, rather than throw it away or shred it like you have Cheta, next time if they send you a poster and you want to be a bit naughty, you can actually send it back to them by free post, and it will cost them £3.50 per letter. But that's one. The other thing is, really, to the serious bit, asking people to pay it's a grift. Reform is the least they might as well just go and open a GoFundMe or something. Reform has been opened by Nigel Farage to get money from, on one hand, on suspecting people on whose frustration he banks and whose frustration he stirs up. But on the other hand, if you see or hear a lot of either their talking points, you can see that they also get a lot of money from donors, from wealthy donors, like the man who's now giving them what is it, about £12 million in cryptocurrency. And you have to just keep asking yourself, where on earth, you can't even trace it. But the other thing, or the one thing you also missed, Cheta, in this Milton Keynes rally that you refused to go to, is their
And
resort.
wait, let me get one. Let's get one thing straight. Even if
Mm.
you had given me money to go, I would have chopped the money. Let's just so let's get that out of the way because as in the thought of money going from my hand to that
To
man's hand,
reform.
mbano, alu, chukwaju, never.
No, but the thing is, the apparent voter buying tactics that they are now employing, because they rolled out a they said it was a competition where people could play for Nigel Farage, as I said, to pay the energy bills of people and their whole street. Now that, going by the electoral law, is barefaced voter buying. But what's even more worrying is that when you then try to sign up, as some have pointed out, it's also deep data harvesting, which may also be in breach of GDPR legislation. So they're asking for not just your name, your email address, your number, your street address, but they're also asking who you voted for in the last election and all that. So and they're asking for you to hand this over to them online. It's
Mm.
what amazes me really with reform, and we saw this with Trump in 2016, is that you see someone edging closer every day to the edge of what is normal, and in this case, what is legal, and everyone just sits down and say, it's almost as if the institutions that are supposed to put him in check are like, well, it's Nigel, well, it's reform, and they continue to just see how far they can bend the rules, or in some cases even break the rules without being called out. And the last thing is this excuse me, the reports that has come out by oh god, I don't remember the institutions now, but just on GB News, talking about how Ofcom has repeatedly looked the other way again
Yes,
while
it
reform.
was Davy raised it in PMQs today.
He raised in
And
PMQs as well.
yes,
Yeah.
and the prime minister did not basically danced around the issue, and it brings me to so there's a distinct lack of courage, and
Mm,
this is how in this is exactly how in countries such as ours, Nigeria, our home country,
mm,
things fell apart when people do not have the courage to stand up when they see things going wrong. So here is a man who has set up a political party clearly to swindle people of their money. And rather than somebody basically taking it to the court system to be like, hang on, this is wrong, this is borderline illegal. There should at least be because technically he has not broken any laws.
mm,
But ethically, there are a lot of things that have gone wrong. So it's the kind of thing that you bring out, you bring through the justice system, let a pronouncement be made about it. But people are so afraid that they will be called names if they do that. So it's pretty much the same thing. There's unlike in the US used to have the First Act that was gutted by Ronald Reagan. The UK still has guidelines on the statutes that mean that every media, every broadcast organization has to provide fair coverage to all sides. Now, that Ofcom report shows very clearly that GB News is not doing that. But like I said, in PMQs today, Keir Starmer just danced around the issue. That
And
is problematic.
and it shows how reform for a very long time has been built up by the media, by the establishment, if you can call it that, because people are just afraid or just refuse to call them out. Take another example. Richard Tice, the deputy leader of reform, it's been revealed that he's not paid £600,000 in taxes because he's domiciled in Dubai.
Abroad.
Now, this is a man who goes almost every day on your favorite guy, Nick Ferrari's show, or other conservative mouthpiece platforms, and goes on about migrants, saying migrants are not contributing to the system, migrants are taken away from the system, people are not paying taxes, or UK taxes are being used for people other than British
Than
citizens,
British
by
people.
which most times he means white people. But we then realize that this man is not paying his taxes. So it's that sleight of hand thing where they make so much noise about people who are trying to put their head down, who are trying to work, who don't have uh, the sort of services that he's professional services that he has access to try and swindle the state of their taxes. Meanwhile, this man is sat down there not paying any taxes. It's the same with Nigel Farage, who bought a house for, what was it, £800,000 or so.
Yes,
First of
800,000. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and he bought it outright, but couldn't say where the money came from. Initially, he said he bought the house, then said, oh no, it was my girlfriend that bought the house. Oh, then it was we that bought the house. But these guys keep skirting around the law. They keep breaking the law every single day, and no one cares. No one is raising an eyelid, and that makes me think that the system, whether it's a right wing media, whether is the civil service who are supposed to look into the breach of the codes, the breach of laws, are actively working to get this guy elected, because for some reason it's not just in the political space that the Overton window has shifted, but even in public service, in public life, it seems that everyone has somehow ideologically marched behind Farage and reform, and they've said, thy kingdom come.
Well, for me, ultimately, it remains to be seen where it all goes. But what I tell people who bother to listen is and I think it's something that I've been saying on this podcast. Farage peaked a long time ago. The polling is beginning to bear that out. You can see that there's a slight drop. Basically, they've appealed. So they have a core. I'm of the view. Number one, Britain has moved from being a two-party system. It's now like five that are in the mix. So Britain has become a truly European country in that respect. Fragmented politics. So you have the Greens, you have the Conservatives or the Tories, the Labour, you have the Liberal Democrats, and then you have Reform. And of all of these parties, Reform is guaranteed, in my estimation, somewhere between 15 and somewhere between 15 and 24% of the votes. They got to 30 because there were people who were willing to give them an ear, so neutrals, essentially. But that 30 is the absolute peak that they can get to, because now a lot of people are beginning to see what they really are all about. So people are beginning to turn away from them. They will always have that hardcore, some, like I said, somewhere between 15 and 20, 21, 22% who are diehard, die in the wool reform and
Mm,
reform supporters. And basically it's because the people like Nigel Farage appeals to their racism. End of story. So, but now you have Rupert Lowe with his Restore. You have the other one, the other clown with Advance. Those are beginning to eat into that share. There are many people in that sector of life who think that Farage is not going far enough. So those ones will naturally peel away. One. Number two, as reform wins more councils, and they will win more councils in the elections in May, as they win more councils and people begin to see that they are not really capable of performing, we are going to start seeing them fall apart. And then infighting. At the end of the day, the fact remains reform was set up to make money. It's not set up
mm.
as a proper party. So there will be infighting naturally. And that will hasten. So reform is not going to get into power. They will get close.
Mm.
But into power, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and getting close is going to be because a lot of people, and this is speaking now, specifically to our community. A lot of people in our community can't hold their nerves. Because we're used to this brand of politics where we are excited, and we get readily excited because someone promises a lot of quick wins, a lot of quick answers, and that hits some emotional nerve. And we're quick to sadly follow one, uh the shiny new thing. And I say this because one thing I've noticed being in politics, in the UK for a while, is that the politics in the UK is like sort of like a duck sitting pretty on a pond. Above the water, it looks all calm and regal, but beneath the water, the feet are paddling, trying to keep it afloat. There's a lot that happens. There's a lot of chaos, let's say, behind the scenes, and sometimes it seeps into the press. So I'll give you an example. This issue around immigration. A lot of people, and I'm sure you've seen that. I think I shared it with you. There's a lot of people circulating messages saying, "Oh man, the Greens are the only party is the only party that will speak for us." And I agree, the Greens are saying the right things on immigration, so I can't even fault that. But when then I try to explain to people that if you follow what's going on with the debate, in the labor circle, you'll find that whilst the front bench of the government, so those are those, the ministers, the secretaries of state, and the prime minister, maybe saying one thing in terms of this is where we want to go with this immigration, and especially the retrospective application of the new law or the new rules, you find that there's a lot of pushback from Labour MPs on the backbench who are saying to them, no, you can't do this. There are many people in our constituencies who have come here on, with a lot of trust in the system, because there was a guarantee that after 5 years you're on the route to settlement. Now, we being people from our communities are used to a lot of this infighting happening in the open. So everyone needs to raise their voice and shout and say, "Hey, we no go agree," or "Hey, I don't agree to this." However, here is a system where there's a lot of negotiation that happens in the background, and which is why you wake up one day and say the government has either pushed something into the long grass or there's a U-turn. Um, so I say this. I mean, this is a long roundabout way of saying
Very
reform will win.
long-winded.
Yeah, reform will win votes because people will get excited and split the votes that ought to keep reform out. That is how they win a lot of votes. And
You heard me yawning.
no, I know you did, but Cheta, here's me speaking from my experience of knocking on doors, of speaking to people on the ground, and knowing that
I have
there are.
one answer for you. Let me
Mhm,
cut you short.
yeah.
Gotten and Denton. See,
Mm-hmm,
I know that you have to speak for your party and all of that good
mm-hmm.
stuff, but you know, one thing that is now very clear is that this politics of fear mongering is no longer going to work.
Oh yeah,
You
no,
ha- you you have
but
to
I'm not.
wait now. I
Mm-hmm,
let you talk. I let you talk. So this politics of fear mongering is no longer going to work.
mm-hmm,
The reason the Greens are taking away a lot of bread and butter from labor, a lot of win from labor sales, is that the Greens are speaking to the real issues. And remember what I have been telling you since we started this podcast. The real issue in the UK is not immigration, it's cost of living. And
yep.
trust me, the things that are happening in the Middle East will make it even more so. Labour has already made a fundamental error of tacking to the right and dancing Atlanta on top of immigration. But immigration is not people's issues. One thing that I will still say about your average Brits, and you can see it as an example in race mixing, race
Mm,
relations generally, as compared to your average Western country. I've talked about it before. And remember that early in this podcast, I said that one thing where I agree with Kemi Badenoch was when she said the UK is probably the best country for a black person. And I said, at the very least, I would say it's one of the best.
mm,
The nature of race relations in the UK is very different from the nature of race relations in most other Western countries.
mm,
Definitely very different from the nature of race relations in France. Definitely very different from the nature of race relations in the United States. Bottom line is the whole hue, noise, and cry about immigration is not natural to the British psyche. The British psyche is more attuned towards class than towards race.
mm.
So what is going to happen is a reversion to the mean, which is more about class. And when you go more to you start getting back to that mean, and it's more about class, then bread and butter issues will become more important. And Iran again is going to be, because this Iranian war is not going to it's not going to end anytime soon, even
Mm,
if it goes into a sort of frozen phase. It's the Straits of Hormuz is going to be very it's going to be problematic for a long while to come, and as a result of that, we are going to see elevated oil prices. It's going to start hitting people as so we're entering into the warm months, but it will start really hitting people. The 1 month, then it's not too long. By October now, cold breeze will start to blow again. And people will realize that suddenly their gas prices are at a new high. There's this fuel price cap that is supposed to expire in September. What happens when it expires? So all of those things are going to come into play. Cost of living is going to be a major thing in the coming election cycle. Not necessarily in May's council elections, but
mm.
in the coming election cycle. And it will become clear that shouting, banging on and on about immigration is not what is
Oh
really
no,
bothering people.
yeah,
So
and I agree with you.
yeah,
Yeah, and
so the
I'm not
bottom
saying.
line is the
Mm.
Labour Party had better shape up, but
And say,
the
look,
the will to shape up does not seem to exist.
you will not get any pushback from me. Remember, I'm not talking about the. I was talking about how reform wins those seats where they will win. Remember, I agreed with you. I didn't say they will win government. No, I said you said reform will win some seats, and I said yes. And the reason they will win those seats is because X, Y, Z. And there've been some by-elections where in the past few weeks where reform has already flipped some seats in local elections. and you will see more. They are projected to win a lot of local. Um,
Yes, I mean, and that's
so
and that's not because of
no,
the Greens.
no,
What I'm saying
no,
is
I'm
it's
not
not
blaming the
because
Greens. No, I've not said no,
your
no, no.
entire speech earlier
No, here's what I
basically
said.
blames the Greens.
No, 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 no. I said our people are excited. No, Cheta, listen, and because I think you already had a position. Here's what I
No, I
said.
didn't already have a
No,
position.
no.
And I
Here's
agree
what I
with you for
said.
the records. I agree with you for the records. Our people are
Mm.
excitable.
And that
It's one
was
of
the
my
reason I
big
gave. So I don't blame
issues
the
with
Greens.
it's one of my big issues with our people generally. We tend to focus too much on appearance rather than substance.
Yeah.
So and I think it's something that has been there for a very long time culturally. Hence, you had all of those tropes of, okay, you take this mirror, you give me this land.
Mm.
You understand that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
So yeah. So no, really, I wasn't. No, I did say. I said. I mentioned that yeah, the Greens are saying the right thing. So I acknowledge that they're saying the right things. My only thing was that our people get excited. Don't look. Just look at what's happening now, and then, and again, anyone who chooses to vote, look, anyone who says I'm going to switch my allegiance from Labour to the Greens because the Greens are saying the right things on immigration and Labour is not, I cannot, in any conscience, say do not do that because the facts do not lie. You understand? The Greens are
yes,
the ones who have, as a whole, said immigration is good for the UK. Labour, on the other hand, is split between what the front bench is saying and what the back bench is pushing back on.
and
So that was what I was saying.
what is being reported in the media, what people are seeing is what
Mhm.
the front bench is saying.
Oh,
That's one.
definitely,
More
definitely, because
secondly,
the front bench has the power
yes, they
to
have
make their
the,
voices heard in
to
the
make their
media.
voices heard, yes.
Yeah.
But secondly, I wouldn't fault anyone who decides in short, I actually think one group that, in as much as I don't like them, I admire their dedication and their singular focus, is APAC in the US,
Mm,
America Israel Political Action Committees. They have a single issue: support for Israel,
mm.
and they do everything they can. That issue is front and center. And because of that laser focus, they have become very powerful within the American system. I think
Oh,
it's the
what
kind
about
of
the
thing.
gun lobby? Those guys as well.
So I've chosen a group that I want to use as an example because the gun lobby also do other things. They talk about
Mm,
energy, and APAC has APAC is a single issue organization, Israel.
mm,
So for me, it would be if I had the influence or the money, is the kind of thing that I would say, okay, let me rally the African heritage communities in the UK. Let our singular issue be immigration.
mm.
So at this point, because the Green Party is the only one that has said the right things about immigration, all of us should go with the Greens on this particular election cycle, so that it's important to demonstrate that electoral power, so that people will understand and we will not be taking for granted, because for crying out loud, um Nigerians alone are half a percentage point of the UK population. Black people are about 4% of the UK population. In electoral terms, that's actually quite significant.
In
Both
fact,
figures are
yeah.
significant. So why can't we make our voices heard?
In fact, talk about rallying the black vote, as it were. Somebody that we're looking at, or we are going to interview at some point on the podcast, David Weaver, who is chair of Operation Black Vote, has been in the news to warn that Labour is in deep trouble with black voters.
Yes, I saw
And
that.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, we've had that conversation. I think we're just trying to rally or get the right dates to get David on the podcast. He's shown. He said to me that, look, when you guys let's look at some dates and let's align. I remember speaking with him some weeks back, and David is tired. Because he's just like, for how long would this carry on? Or for how long, how long would this carry on? And you can tell that there's a lot of fatigue from having to fight about this same issue over and over and over again, and it almost
At
looks
the end of the
like
day, yeah, what I would say is at the end of the day, he's human. So
mm,
yes, naturally he will get tired. But the historical parallel I would like to draw is William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce fought a lonely battle to get the UK to abolish slavery for more than 30 years. At various points he was exhausted. So the what you do really is at some point you take a small rest. You can't we are not even machines need some rest every once in a while.
mm.
So at a point you take a rest, then you pick up and you go on.
But the non or the non-robust inclusion of our community in politics, I think, I've probably mentioned this to you before. My theory of what gave rise to the villainy of Kemi Badenoch. And it will be interesting to see if she goes to this king's reception for Tinubu, because she can't in one breath say I'm not Nigerian or I don't identify whatever, and then in the next breath she's
Well,
going
it
to,
will be hard for her to. No, she's the leader of the of His
well,
Majesty's
so
opposition,
so sh-
so
so she goes as a
she will
leader
have
of the
to be there.
opposition, not,
Yes, not as a
but
Nigerian.
it will be interesting to see what she wears. Again, the politics of fashion. But anyway, what I wanted to say is the rise of the villainy of Kemi, I believe, can be tied to the non-participation of the Nigerian audience whom she had tried to make herself a part of in politics, and she just said, you know what, screw these guys. People are not giving me the support I want, so I'm
Yeah,
just going
no,
to.
and I agree. I agree. It's easy to knock us as a group because we don't
Mm.
bring anything to the table.
Oh, Cheta, that's harsh.
I said what I said.
Anyway, shall we go for a quick break? And when we come back, we'll speak about Cheta's favorite president and his visit to the UK. Oh my goodness, that is you desperately biting your tongue. Anyway, quick
See,
break.
what I want to say to you is not safe. It's not safe for this media. So, yeah, a break.
All right. Welcome back to the Black Paper. My name is Shindukwe Onoha.
And I'm Sheta Wanze.
So, Chita, we took a quick break so that you could get yourself ready to talk about one of your favorite presidents, or your most favorite president in the whole wide world. President Bola Tinubu uh, is visiting His Majesty the King on a state visit, and he has brought, as it were, almost all of Nigeria's government with him. And you have the Nigerian community here also scrambling to get a seat at the table to have a conversation with the president, with his entourage, with the king, and his entourage as well. And I'm surprised, Sister, that you're not there. This is your man.
I don't know where that's okay. Let me rephrase. He's our man. At the end of the day, however you look at it, he's the president of Nigeria at the moment. I did not vote him. You were not even in Nigeria during the last election. But there are so many things that from a so it's the whole visit is just emblematic of two things. Um, the real priorities of Nigeria's political class and the fact that they don't give a flying F about the Nigerian people. It's also emblematic of the hypocrisy of Nigerians as a people. So a couple of days ago, there were multiple bomb blasts in Maiduguri, in northeast Nigeria, and as of the last count, I think it's 30 people that have been killed. Yet the Minister of Defense, the National Security Advisor, are in the UK with the president. That's a fundamental problem. Um, you have so the Senate president is in the UK. Of course, the first lady will be there. She's not an elected official; she's his wife, so naturally she will be there. But the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency is also present. I said, how does that happen? The Minister of Defense is also present. Yet you have an insurgency that is that appears to be growing. You have, as in, it's just a jamboree. The Attorney General, the two ministers of finance, the Minister of Information, solid minerals. There's also a subtext where the Minister of Foreign Affairs was in the UK last week, but he's been sent home and is the Minister of State. For anybody who understands Nigerian politics, it means that Yusuf Tuga is out of favor.
Mm.
And yeah, and th- basically there's a problem between him and the powers that be. But you have how many ministers? You have quite a number of governors, and then they did that thing of they all stood to wave bye bye to the presidents in Abuja. And then all of them gathered and entered the same plane. And then when they landed in the UK, they all came out to welcome him. Like, why does that keep happening? It's so embarrassing. Anyway, I think I mean, I've talked about the security thing. There's also, again, that's large delegation. For a country where that more people have entered into poverty since this man became president, a lot more people. It's just so um eh, it's just so let them have cake.
Mm.
And that
Yeah.
is now for the hypocrisy. When Goodluck Jonathan was president and there was a bombing in Nyanya, and he went for a political rally. A lot of the people who are defending Tinubu now and who defended Buhari absolutely crucified Jonathan. So that's inconsistency. So these are the things that chip away at the whole uh the whole edifice of Nigeria. The inconsistency is hugely problematic. But let us talk about the substance of what um he he has
Yeah.
come to do. I think the major thing. So there are some infrastructure deals, especially for Apapa and Tinkan ports, which are going to be signed. Those are important. Then there's a 746 million pounds. I don't know if it's a loan or if it's an investment, but whatever it is, there are some tangible things that will be signed. That's the bottom line.
Yes, especially for the tech sector, in the fintech sector.
I think that the tech sector, if the tech sector has more deals with the United States or in the United States, Silicon Valley, or even in China, then we would be better served. The UK has, I mean, the UK has some good in terms of fintech. So, for example, Revolut, Monzo, you can't sniff at those. But in terms of sheer scale, I think that the answer is really in the UK. Is the UK in from a European perspective, the UK is a leader in fields like AI, but the real global leaders are the US and China. So
Mm.
I'm not going to sniff at any deals from those. And Bosun Sijani, Nigeria's Minister of Technology, is part of the very large delegation. But for me, it's about leveraging strengths, and there's a reason why I picked out the deal on ports, because the UK historically is a maritime nation. So that is leveraging on the UK strengths.
Mm. But you spoke about hypocrisy earlier, and while you focus on hypocrisy of the Nigerian population, shouldn't there be a focus as well on the hypocrisy of the UK? Because and I say this because King Charles won't just wake up and say, right, I want to invite President XYZ. It will be part of the it will be part of the government's agenda, and King Charles being the head of state, uh, for good or bad, or will play along. I mean, not to say that he doesn't have his own mind, but largely he will be part of
in,
of
in,
the great
in the
gains.
British system, in the British system, to a large extent, the monarch basically does what he's told by the
Yeah,
politicians, and
yeah.
that has been the case since the Glorious Revolution.
Mm.
Um, so so I mean,
So,
there's the
but to
possibility that
finish my what, yeah,
okay, go
but
on,
to finish my
go on.
thoughts, yeah, but to finish my thoughts. So, for me, the hypocrisy there would be that in again, well, this might be unfair putting it on this administration, but Cameron made the famous statement of, a country being fantastically corrupt. All that show of saying, oh, we're in quote better than these guys, and still you aid in quote this show of official squander, let me put it that way, by granting visas to this large delegation that really has nothing to do
It's
with
diplomatic visas, so I don't think there was I mean,
any process.
so first things first,
Mm,
and this is one of those things that we need to be realistic about. We so many times we're not realistic about these things as a people. Um, it's a very simple thing. The UK is looking at the UK's interests in this discussion.
uh-huh.
The UK after Brexit um, needs trade alliances, needs friends, as it were. And if Nigeria is going to be, they are seeing France. So from a geopolitical angle, they are saying France making inroads into Anglophone Africa, which is supposed to be British, historical British. I don't want to use the word territory, but I can't think of another one. Is this basic in
Allies, since
okay,
that word
allies? Okay, fine, fine,
it's been flying
allies.
around for 2 weeks now.
Although I don't, I don't, I, the reason allies did not come to me either is that we are not really allies.
We're not
Let's,
allies now.
yeah,
We're like
let's not.
we're like the king. We do what we're told.
So we are not quite vassals, but we are not allies either. So we're in a sort of gray zone between vassalage and alliance. And Nigeria, for example, perhaps because of the nature of colonialism in Nigeria, we were not really settled by the British, so we didn't get to see the wrong end of the stick, like say the Kenyans or the South Africans, or the Zambians or the Zimbabweans. So the way we from our side of the woods look at the British is very different from the way our kin from Southern and Eastern Africa look at the British. Having said that, France, which tries to assimilate its own portion of West Africa during colonialism and then remains deeply involved in those countries post independence, is being chased out or has a rather adversarial relationship with most of those countries now. The in West Africa at the moment, it's of the francophone countries is the coastal countries, Ivory Coast, Togo, and Benin, that have that are um, doing okay, as it were, with the French. The rest of them is very adversarial, including Senegal. So as a result of that, what typically happens is, or what is happening, is that the French are trying to pursue relationships in other African countries. So Kenya is hosting a major France Africa thing, the first Anglophone country that is hosting it in May. Macron will be there and all of that. So the British have suddenly found themselves on the back foot, and they are trying to back their way into Africa. And when it is a naked geopolitical gambit, nobody's going to be talking about things about esoteric things like human rights, democracy. It doesn't matter how many elections Tinubu rigs. What matters is, will our business interests be served? And that is what is, and we as a people need to get our heads out of those clouds that they are friends in international politics or international geopolitics. They are no
Nah,
friends.
they're not
It is
friends.
interest. The fundamental thing that Nigeria, and many Africans, but I would speak to Nigeria specifically, Nigeria has not understood is, we haven't even defined our national interest. So if we haven't defined our national interest, then how are we going to have these conversations with these countries? We just can't.
Well, I mean that's real talk, right there. It's all about interest, and um, but you'll also see it in even just how there's some sort of like a scramble. I know conversations that are being had, and people are just trying to get there because either it makes them look good to be seen in that crowd, or maybe hopefully someone will see you and say something
No,
nice to
now
you.
hustle. Now hustle. I had no. I mean, I got a call today from someone
Mm,
who was like, why are you not there?" And
mm,
I was like, I could have hustled an invite if I had wanted to. And he was like,
mm,
yeah, that's what he would have expected, because you get there, you see somebody. I mean, because of the nature of the spaces that I've moved in,
mm,
I would have met, or I've met people who, I know people who are in those circles. And so his point was, okay, and I know you, for example, know people in those circles as
mm.
well. So his point was that, oh, we could have gotten a contract or two just by being there. And I'm like, I go to Nigeria regularly enough, so it's not
Mm.
as if that is this thing. I'm just
Well,
all
well,
of that.
well. To be fair, I got an invite to go to the creative economy thing on Friday, but because I'm out of the UK, I'm not able to make it. But what I was
At
just
least
trying to say.
you got the invite on your own good graces.
Mm,
You didn't have to hustle. I would have had to hustle. If I had hustled like it, I would have gotten it, but I
mm.
wasn't ready to do that stress.
No, but it's interesting. So for me, I'm not necessarily knocking anyone, but I'm just saying that, and it's good that we sort of like got to that point where
I I don't
we
knock
we
anybody.
agree
What
that.
is legitimate? No, I can't knock, as long as a man's hustle is
No,
legitimate.
no, no. It's not even about the hustle. Is the
Wait
idea that
now.
there are no friends or enemies in politics
Okay.
or international relations.
Yes, good.
It's We need to get to that point where we understand that, look, we can't be
Exactly. It's a
emotional about these
no emotions.
conversations.
Is Yeah, it's about how, what do we gain as a people. But my own argument is, whatever we gain as a people starts from us defining our national interest.
True
What
that.
is the reason for Nigeria? We
In
haven't
fact,
done that.
let me put it another way. Cheta, what's a Nigerian dream?
It's very simple. It's The Nigerian dream has been defined by Nigerians. I better pass my neighbor. It's been defined. It's just we have come to that. That is the Nigerian dream. I better pass my neighbor.
Oh boy. Anyway, talk about better pass my neighbor, and how people gain undue advantage by either knowing someone or having access. Cheta, what's your take on this whole AFCON? Morocco did not win, and now Morocco has won. Are
Nah,
they
see,
better? Have they applied
CAF.
that principle?
So here's what I think. I think that the court of, because Senegal has appealed to the court of arbitration for
Mm,
sports, and I think that they will rule in favor of Senegal. And the
mm,
reason I think they will rule in favor of Senegal is that the referee continued the game.
mm,
Um, Very simple. If if the ref had said during the course of the game If the ref had said, okay, Senegal walked off the pitch, they abandoned the game, it's over. It was within his rights. But I have read through the bylaws. I've also spoken with two sports journalist friends of mine, and they both say the same thing. Basically, because the ref called them when the Senegalese came back into the pitch, the game continued. That then this ruling is just. But the bottom line is
But what's CAF
what
playing at
CAF is
then?
do. So Morocco has been, if you notice, I think the last 3 or 4 CAF tournaments, not just the Nations Cup, have been hosted by Morocco. Morocco was actually supposed to host the Women's Nations Cup for the third time in a row.
Mm.
I think is it this month or in May? So Morocco has about among the best or about the best sports facilities on the continent right now. They've invested a lot in football, and CAF, being CAF, have just lazily leaned on them. They've not done anything else. Just, oh, okay, Morocco. Anything that CAF wants to do, oh, Morocco will host. Anything that CAF wants to do, oh, Morocco will host. So what the Moroccans did, because the Moroccans were pretty testy after they lost that
Mm.
game. So, and then basically they saw the entire continent was rooting against them. So they threw a hissy fit and said we're not hosting again. And the CAF guys are so the right now the Women's Nations Cup is in trouble because they don't have a host. And so CAF are trying to do everything that they can to basically please Morocco. It's just uh it's just silly.
It's African
Um,
politics.
well, they should just give the tournaments to what they call them, to Tanzania. After all, they were the ones who bid along with Morocco, and CAF gave it to
Or maybe
Morocco.
next time they should bother not having any competition at all. Just say Morocco has won.
Exactly. That's the way I would have played it. I mean, so the 2022 Women's Cup of Nations was hosted by Morocco. The
Mm.
2024 Women's Cup of Nations was hosted by Morocco. The 2026 Women's Cup of Nations is going to be hosted by Morocco. I say, Haba now, come on. CAF. So it's in my view, it's a part of it is a lack of imagination on the part of CAF.
Mm.
Complete lack of imagination. So they've just settled into a sort of comfort zone where they simply give everything to Morocco to host. And now that Morocco has thrown a hissy fit, they are running around like headless chickens.
Well, there shall be no run around aimlessly on this podcast because
Yeah, inshallah.
we've gotten to the point where um we should be drawing a curtain on this episode. But yeah, Cheta, sad that you're not going to dine, wine and dine with the king and the president. Hopefully next time will be better. And
I'm
maybe
not. It has always been part of my problems. I don't know how to. Um,
to be a nice person.
I'll just talk my mind. I'm still trying to quiet my mouth because, more. I need to. I want to make those billions. So let me quiet my mouth small.
Yeah, or as a Obasanjo, was it Obasanjo that famously said, "You don't eat when or you don't talk when you're eating." I mean, how was it again?
No, it was Ruben Abati.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
But anyway, no, it's been a fun conversation, and
Yeah, always, always.
let's know when Reform invites you again. Perhaps we should try and crowdfund or get someone else to pay for the ticket, so you don't have to feel like you've paid for it out of your pocket. And let's see what those guys are on about.
Okay, if they invite me again, I'll tell you so that you'll pay.
Yeah, I said someone else.
Are you
But
not someone else?
yeah, 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 yeah. Good night.
Good night.